The next few videos will talk about advertising on Twitter, but before we launch into that, I thought it was important to know some key terms in advertising. So let's go over the advertising glossary. The first thing you'll hear about is attribution models, and this is basically how you determine which advertisement or which instigator caused a person to do what you want them to do, basically, whether it was give you their email address or follow your account or go to your website or make a purchase. So the first click attribution assigns 100% of that conversion value to the click that initiates that conversion path. So basically, the first thing a person clicks on may not be your website, but they may click a few things after that gets them to your website, and so you've met the goal of website visits. And so that very first thing that they clicked on that led them there is what gets credit for that website visit. The last click attribution model assigns 100% of the conversion value to the click that immediately precedes the goal that you want them to accomplish, or that conversion event. So the last thing that they click on before they follow you or before they visit your website or before they make a purchase is what gets that credit. And then in a multi-channel attribution model, the attribution gets spread out among various clicks in the purchase funnel or in the decision funnel. So it's very important to kind of decide, how your advertising is working by looking at what gets credit for those conversions. So, if you want to know whether you're getting the return on your investment that you want. And so it's important that you decide how you want to measure that, which attribution model you want to use, so that you know which steps in the process get credit for that conversion. And then you have the cost per definition. So cost per acquisition, or CPA, you'll see these noted a lot of times just by their acronym, is the how much you spend on your advertising campaign divided by the number of new customer acquisitions. So how much does it cost to gain a customer? Cost per click is the total amount you spend on your campaign divided by the total number of clicks. So, for example, if you were talking about a Twitter ad campaign, how much did you spend on the advertisements versus how many people clicked on your advertisement to get to where you wanted to send them and to meet that conversion that you wanted them to do. And then you have CPI, cost per install, and that's basically if you're doing a campaign to try to get people to install your app, then that's you take the total amount you spend on your ad campaign divided by the number of apps that people install. Cost per lead, CPL, is the total amount you spend on your campaign divided by the number of leads. So that would be if you're just doing a campaign to generate leads, that's the cost structure you would use. And then CPF, cost per follow. So if you do a campaign just to get more followers on Twitter, you would take the amount you spent on that campaign and divide it by the number of new followers that you acquired during that campaign. There are also some terms related to engagement. So we've talked about engagement in past videos, but engagement quantifies how much user interaction there is with your campaign. So what do the users do and how do they respond to your campaign? So for promoted accounts, they don't actually use engagement as a measure. They use follow rate. So that if you're trying to promote your Twitter account to gain new followers, then the engagement is going to be measured by the number of followers, the number of follows on a promoted account, compared to the number of impressions that the advertisement gets. So the advertisement, for example, might be served to 100,000 people, but you get 1,000 new followers. So it's the number of new follows compared to the number of impressions. For promoted tweets, say you want to boost your tweets. Maybe you're having a big event at your company or a sale at your store or something like that, and you want to tweet about it, and then you want those tweets to be sent to customers and potential customers, then to measure the engagement with that, you would measure things like the number of clicks, the number of retweets, likes, follows, replies, and things like that. For promoted trends, you would measure the number of clicks, retweets, likes, follows, and replies as well on the promoted tweets connected to that particular promoted trend campaign. And then you have impressions. So this is the number of users who actually see your campaign. They may not actually respond to it, but they might see it and remember it in the future, or they might, it kind of creates a little bit of awareness. So you can only count the impressions on promoted content. So any type of impressions that are generated organically, like because somebody has shared your tweet, are not able to be counted. So if you're trying to promote your Twitter account again to get more followers, then the impressions would be the number of users who see your promoted account, whether or not they click through or follow you. For a promoted tweets campaign, this would be the number of users who see a promoted tweet on their home timeline or maybe in search results, whether or not they actually engage with it. And then for promoted trends, this is the number of users who view the promoted trend. And again, whether or not they engage in it, they've at least actually seen it. It's made an impression. So some other terms you'll hear a lot are CTR, click-through rate. This is the total engagements on an ad divided by the number of impressions. So engagement being they actually saw the ad and they were interested enough in it to click to read more, or to go to your website, or to do whatever you want them to do by clicking. So the click-through rate is the percentage of people who saw the ad that actually click through on it. The effective cost per engagement, or ECPE, this accounts for any type of additional engagements that are tied to your promoted tweet campaign that you aren't billed for. So, for example, if you run a promoted tweet campaign, if people click on it or share, or that kind of thing, then they, you'll be charged for like a certain amount. But like a cost, I think it's cost per thousand is what you are charged on this. So how many thousands of people see the promoted tweet is how you get billed. But if those people share share it or retweet it, or comment on it or engage with it in any other way, you don't have to pay for those additional impressions. You only pay for the people that were served that promoted tweet. So you might get increased value from the sharing of that tweet. And those are the effective cost per engagement. It's the things that you get that are sort of bonus that you aren't billed for. The follow rate is the number of users who start following your promoted account compared to the number of impressions. So if you run a campaign to get more followers, then you look at how many people saw your ad to follow your campaign or to follow your Twitter feed, and you compare that to the number of people who actually do pull the trigger and follow. And then frequency capping, this limits the number of times a user will see the same component of a promoted campaign. So basically, you've probably seen things. I know I see this on gaming sites a lot, where I get the same ad over and over and over and over again, and it sort of wears you out after a while. So frequency capping limits the number of times that a user will actually see the same ad over and over again, because it can get tiresome to the user. So in the next section, we'll actually talk about advertising and how you do that on Twitter, how to set up a business account and set your objectives and things like that.